What is up, everyone? I have a very exciting demonstration planned for you today. We're going to be using Streamlit to build a chat UI that connects to Snowflake and OpenAI and builds SQL queries for us. Hopefully it'll return some data frames right within the Streamlit application, hopefully even draw some charts for us. So I'm going to start with the demonstration first, the actual finished product, and then we'll go back and actually look at the code so you can see how it all works. So of course, to launch a Streamlit app, the first thing we do is hit Streamlit run and the name of the file. Okay, so here the bot is introducing itself as the New York City weather whiz. It's a SQL expert here to help us with our queries about New York City data. The table is called weather.chatbot source New York City weather, so that's the name of the Snowflake table, and it contains some historical weather, daily weather for the zip code. Okay, precipitation, temp, wind speed, humidity. It's giving us some example questions that we can ask, so this is really good. The bot itself is coaching us on like how to use it, and then it says feel free to ask me anything related to this. So first thing I want to do is just see if we can prove that we're connected to Snowflake. So I'm going to ask it a non-weather related question and hope this doesn't backfire on me. So I'm just going to say select current warehouse. So there's the query and it's the compute warehouse. Great. And let's just do one more thing. Okay, cool. So we're proving out a Snowflake connection, and now let's just prove out that the AI works without the SQL stuff. So let's just ask it like, who was first US president? Oh, it's refusing. Okay, it didn't quite refuse to answer, but it's redirecting us. My expertise lies in New York City weather data, but I can answer that. The first US president was George Washington. Okay, cool. So let's ask it some weather question. Give me the high temp by day over the next 6 days. See how it does. Okay, it's writing some SQL, explaining the SQL and giving the answer, and wow, drawing a chart for us too. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at what it did here. It did select date, max. This is just a field, so it's not actually doing a max, but max temperature at 2 meters in Celsius. 2 meters above the ground is what I know that field means. It's selecting from a data set called forecast and the greater than current date, and then it's sorting it and giving me the first 6 because I asked for 6 days. So that's a clever way to answer that question. Let's make it harder. So are any of these temps record highs for the same day in prior years? Okay. Let's see what it does here. I'd be really impressed if it gets this right. So it's building some common table expressions. It's building a CTE called forecast dates, building a CTE called prior year highs. Oh my gosh, look at this. Hold on, let's just slow down here. Prior highs, okay, and then it's basically matching up the month and the day from prior days, like it's excluding the year so it can get same day prior years. Okay, so now it's telling me the forecast for each one of these dates and the record high, and it's not giving me it's not like telling me whether or not it's a high, so I have to manually evaluate this myself. But I can actually see that this light blue line is the forecast and it goes above the record line here. So am I right about this? Yeah, 33.8. So we do have a high in the forecast. So just the fact that it's coming with a data visualization here is helping me interpret the data faster. The last thing I'm going to have it do is convert this to Fahrenheit because I don't understand Celsius. So can you please convert this to, and I don't know how to spell Fahrenheit, so I'm just going to put F and just hope for the best here. Oh my gosh, look at this. Wow, this is really impressive. Let's take a look. I added 2 additional columns to the CTEs, record high and record high in Fahrenheit. Okay, so yes, it gave me, that's really neat. So it's giving me in Celsius and Fahrenheit. This concludes the demo portion of the presentation. Let's move on, take a look at the code and see how it all works. Okay, let's see if we could break down how some of this works. So without connecting to Snowflake and without connecting to OpenAI, how do we use Streamlit to create a chat UI? So I created a separate Python file here called simplechatbot.py, and right now it just has really 2 functional lines of code. It's importing Streamlit and it's just giving a title. Let's just put this side by side with my web browser so we can actually see how it looks. So right now I just have the header and that's all I got. I'm just gonna uncomment a couple blocks of code here. Let's take a look at a few things. So it's inspecting this session state kind of global object, and it's looking at the keys of that object and looking for the word messages. The word messages is not already in the session state, it's supposed to ask, how can I help? And this is giving us this new Streamlit functionality called chat input. And it's setting a prompt variable and defining the chat input at the same time. And so now that I've uncommented this chat input, as soon as I click save down here, you're going to see the chat input here, and it should be asking us how it can help. So control save, and it sends some files. It sends the changes. So I'm gonna click always rerun so we won't have to constantly keep refreshing. Now I have chat input, and it didn't ask us how can I help yet, because I didn't do this. So this is just saying for messages and session state of messages, basically act like a chatbot, okay? So now it's asking how can I help, but it's not connected to OpenAI yet. So if I say anything to it, it's not gonna write back because there's nothing in my code yet that tells it to write back. So the last piece of kind of building out this chatbot is right down here. And just by saving, it's instantly, now it's thinking. st.spinner, it's trying a spinner for you. Like, so how cool is this? That you don't need any JavaScript, you don't need any CSS or HTML, and it's doing really cool things like spinner by just typing st.spinner, and then the word thinking is accompanied with the spinner. Here I'm establishing my connection to OpenAI. I'm using the turbo model. I'm passing the role variable from above, the content, which is going to be in the Streamlit message. And then the response is going to come from OpenAI, right? So, and then we're going to grab the first thing out of the response, and then we're going to write it. So it's really that easy. So now let's just make sure that this plain old chatbot is working. So let's ask it, how old is the universe? We get the spinner with the word thinking, and we get an answer. Okay, cool. So now you could see basically how in very few lines of code, I've developed the chat application. Now let's talk about prompt engineering and how we like tell it to be smart with Snowflake. So here I have prompts.py. Okay, let's go all the way up. And sorry, this isn't like a end-to-end tutorial. It's more of just like a demonstration. So I'm not gonna go into the nitty-gritty details, but let's just take a quick look. So I'm giving it a table name, weather.chatbotsource.New York City weather, NYC weather. I'm giving it a table description. So if it chooses to present that table description back to the answer, if it chooses to present that table description back to the user, it will. But these chatbots are of course non-deterministic, and you never really know what they're gonna say. Then I'm giving it several paragraphs, a whole bunch of text in English on how it should act. You'll be acting as an AI Snowflake SQL expert named New York City weather whiz, state and character. Your goal is to give correct executable SQL to the user. So we're telling it, give me some SQL, okay? And here I've given it some hints on the data that I told it that there is a column called dataset, which contains the values forecast and history. Always filter on this column, right? So you must, and we don't need to read all this, but it's human language instructions for the bot. Then down here, we're getting into some of the code. We're telling the chatbot where to look for the actual column names for the table. It's going to look in the information schema.columns table, where the table name is equal to the table that I gave it on like way up there on like line 1 of the code. Okay. And then the rest of it is really here in my New York City weather whiz file, which this will be available on GitHub for you. But notice that these like first 15 lines or so here are exactly what we had in my simple chatbot.py. So I'm just like building a chat framework. And then even this is the same as what we had before. So it's like throw the question at ChatGPT is really what it's, and then get the response, okay? And then finally, if the response contains something that looked like a SQL query, and it should because we told it to do that, right? So if the response contains something that looks like a SQL query, then I want you to connect to Snowflake. So we're going to connect using Snowpark. We're going to kick that SQL query at Snowpark, and we're going to get some result into a data frame. And then st.dataframe means like st, like write the data frame on my screen. So this is like literally just boom, 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 right in your web browser, printing out that data frame. And then I created a class here called Chart Drawer, and the Chart Drawer it looks at the data frame and it says, is this data frame something I can easily chart? So let's take a real quick look at my chart helpers. I have the Chart Drawer class, and I basically take the data frame and I say, is it line chart friendly? And to me, it's line chart friendly if it has dates and numbers. So that's how I define line chart friendly. And if it's line chart friendly, it'll draw a line chart. If it's not line chart friendly, I then will check to see if it's bar chart friendly. And if bar chart friendly, if it has one dimension and numbers, then I do like a sorted descending bar chart, just like a standard bar chart. So you could see very few lines of code here, connecting into Snowflake, writing SQL for us. The potential of such a tool is like, man, it's really just exciting. It's really hard to think about all the ways that we can use this. And Snowflake is now coming out with features where we can do all of this development directly in Snowflake. A lot of that's still in private preview, but as that comes out, we'll be keeping everyone updated on. Okay, everyone, thanks so much for your attention. I really enjoyed putting this together. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you learned something. Thanks a lot.